The rematch of the 1978 World Cup final is here. It's Argentina against Netherlands. None of us were alive then. It just says it on the sheet in front of me, so I thought I'd say it out loud. Both of these two sides haven't had that much of a test up until this point. Argentina obviously made every game feel like a test. Netherlands are sort of going through the gears through this tournament. I think we're still trying to work out how they score goals, what is their sort of style of play in an attacking sense. They're obviously defensively very solid. And as for Argentina, we know what their style is. Give it to Leo Messi and hope for the best. What do you make of this fixture, just looking at it from where you're sat now?
I'm excited about it. I think the interesting thing about Netherlands is that, from what I understand, speaking to various people who've been talking to Louis van Gaal, is that he was always treating with the endless Louis van Gaal confidence that he exhibits and the belief that you got to have to be that kind of manager, that you're the best manager in the world and this is the best team in the world. He basically was treating the group stage as a kind of a warm-up. So he had no doubts that this was going to be all right and it was going to work out okay. So what that means in practice is that he's had the opportunity to test out different combinations. He's had the chance to figure out. So I think it's really exciting that these two teams meet at this stage in the competition. There's all sorts of questions about Messi still, of course, like who takes him on. Does Daley Blind end up doing that, or what? You've got to double mark him anyway. That sort of stuff is obviously going to be interesting to see. But in terms of these two sides, they seem fairly evenly matched.
Yeah, I agree. And you point out battles on the pitch. It's difficult to work out who's going to be responsible for marking Messi because he drops so deep and he takes up different positions. But I'm looking at Martin de Roon, who started in midfield against USA, and he's going to have to basically follow Messi around the pitch, because if we go off of the last game, Messi has got the bit between his teeth, and this, we all know about the legacy defining tournament which this is, and if he wins the World Cup, he will be, in my opinion, undisputedly the best player in the world, the best player of all time. So de Roon's going to be tasked with trying to keep Messi quiet, but it's very, very difficult when you see him pop up on the right, at the left, you see him drop deep to pick up the ball. I think it's going to be a very, very pragmatic game where the midfield battle is going to determine who wins this one. I can't see there being too many goals in there unless there's an early goal and the team's chasing the game. But ultimately, Argentina are going to be relying on Messi magic.
This is a very different game for Netherlands, because they've played Senegal, Qatar, Ecuador and USA, where they've sort of been the dominant side in every game. This one, where they might have to surrender possession a little bit, you look to someone like Frankie de Jong, who's been basically... everything they've done well runs through him. Yeah. If you stop him with someone like Rodrigo de Paul, obviously we're talking about Messi, and we'll come to that in a second again. You stop Frankie de Jong picking up the ball, it feels like Netherlands don't progress the ball very well, because you have Van Dijk, Timber and Aki, who are sort of this, they're just sort of told, give it into your midfield, you do the defensive part. The wing backs get really high. Denzel Dumfries is obviously named after Denzel Washington. You have to mention that every single time you just say his name. And on the other side,
he's a machine, that guy. By the way, they've got some absolute quality players as well. And look at Cody Gakpo as well. Like, what a rising star! Looks like he's going to score all the time. I mean, looking at the defence for Argentina, Nicolas Otamendi actually has been a pretty... I didn't think he would necessarily be that... No, you're not loving him?
He's been all right. Whenever I watch him play, I just think he's going to do something silly. Like when the Australia left-back sort of charged through, he tried to win a tackle by putting his weaker foot behind his stronger foot. And I was like, Lisandro Martinez had to get him out of jail there, who I think actually should definitely start in this game, by the way.
I agree. I think when you see Otamendi because Otamendi seems to be the first centre-back on the team sheet, which is incredible, because I think both Romero and Martinez are better centre-backs, but they maybe don't work together. I think Argentina look a little bit more shaky with the partnership of Otamendi and Romero, so I would also start Lisandro Martinez, but I do think he's going to start with Romero. I've been very, very critical of Rodrigo de Paul in this tournament. I've not been impressed with what I've seen from him, but against Australia, he had the best game of the competition, in my opinion, and I think that midfield battle is going to be so crucial. Like you say, Frankie de Jong is the metronome for the Netherlands. He drops deep, he gives the centre-backs options for passes, and de Paul's going to be hunting him down, and he's quite robust in the way that he goes about it. And I think that's the kind of game it's going to be, or going to have to be, for Argentina to really get anything out of it. We know about how functional their midfield is, but they haven't really got a number 4 who can drop deep and get the ball like that.
Enzo Fernandez.
Enzo Fernandez could, but I don't know if he actually starts this one.
He's got to start.
Do you think so?
He's got to. I think you start the midfield that was very good against. I think it was Australia. McAllister, Enzo Fernandez, and Rodrigo de Paul. I think Papu Gomez started the last one. He got substituted off.
Yeah.
I think the manager's trying really hard to keep everyone happy, but I think that initial midfield 3 is probably his strongest midfield 3.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they maybe have to go a little bit more pragmatic with it. In the front 3 though, do you persist? Because I know Di Maria picked up an injury. I'm not too sure if he's going to be fit for this one. Like who plays in the front 3? Obviously, Julian Alvarez has now come to the tournament, come to the fore. He's scored a couple of goals in this tournament now, which is important because if Messi is Batman, then Julian Alvarez is going to have to be Robin. Nice. And I want to see I want to see what their front 3 will look like against this Netherlands team, who also do play with a back 3. So those matchups will be very interesting to watch as well.
Julian Alvarez against Virgil van Dijk will be very interesting because I feel Van Dijk specialises.
Put some respect on his name, Van Dijk.
I feel like I love him, but I feel he really specialises against strikers that have been about the block. Whereas Julian Alvarez is so new to the game. Even the way he plays, it's so like. He like does.
It's really hard to interpret. It's hard to read it because
he almost just does whatever he wants by instinct.
Yeah.
And I feel maybe that is somewhere where.
Yeah, for sure. That's going to trouble the back 3 of Netherlands. And obviously Van Dijk, I will put respect on his name. He's been one of the best centre backs in the world for the last 5 years. But I think Alvarez could cause him problems. And the best comp for Alvarez for me is like an early Luis Suarez. Suarez at Ajax, that in his first season at Liverpool, where he was a bit all over the place. The first touch isn't always amazing, but the press is incredible. And the work rate is undeniable. And he allows Messi to walk around the pitch. He's walked more than any other player in the whole entire World Cup.
You got a stat for that?
I'm sure you two have got the stats for that. So yeah, I think Julian Alvarez will be very, very key to what Argentina do in this game. And if they are to progress, he's going to maybe have to get on the score sheet for him.
Back to Leo Messi. Where I think this is where Argentina's tournament starts and finishes. How do you stop him? Can you stop him? Will they stop him?
You can't. I mean, how can you? You have to basically put 2 men on him, and you have to watch him like a hawk, and then he'll still be just like chowing down on the little birds on the ground before you've even noticed. Like, it's this ability. You know, I feel like it's hard to say anything new about Messi, to be honest, because it's that classic thing. I remember seeing him play at Wembley when up against Tottenham in the Champions League a few years back. And
weird. I was also at that game.
Oh yeah. We were sitting next to each other. Why didn't you say hi?
My bad.
And he just when you're watching him from up above rather than on the telly, you see even more clearly the way he's just like scoping everything out and just he's watching the entire game and reading it and then just being 3 steps ahead like some sort of chess grandmaster. So I don't have an answer for your question, which was an impossible question.
There isn't a way to stop Lionel Messi, especially if it's a motivated Messi, which is what we've seen over the last maybe 3 or 4 years on the international stage. Before that, he seemed not disinterested, but he preferred playing for Barcelona, preferred playing for a club where everything was tailored towards him. And he's had to overcome some adversity with Argentina. This is not, I know they were on an incredible winning streak heading into the tournament, but when you look at it on paper, they haven't got the best side. They have got deficiencies all over the park, whether it's one of the centre backs or in midfield, or if you're still relying on an agent Angel Di Maria to be one of your attacking focal points. I just think that Lionel Messi is the greatest player of all time, and he's going to have to be that in this game. And if he is feeling it and he has got a bit between his teeth, there is no stopping him, because we saw what he did against Australia. The little pockets of space he picked up, he could have had maybe 3 or 4 assists to Lautaro Martinez, who I'm sure we're going to come on to. He is incredible, and if he's on his game, there's no stopping him.
I'm interested to hear you say that about the Argentina side, because I actually feel like this Argentina side does back up Messi a lot better than I mean, if you remember against Iceland in 2018, you know, it was just, he just looked like he was a player who was playing in a sort of 5-a-side team that he'd accidentally stumbled upon. It just didn't look, and I think actually one of the people who's been significant to that perhaps, and we've talked about goalkeepers a fair bit today actually, is Emi Martinez coming into the side and making that position his own and being commanding and giving them a base to build off. So yeah, I'm interested to hear you to say that.
So with this Argentina team, I think from my point of view, I've seen way more talented Argentina sides that are maybe a little bit more fluid going forward. And this team is way more functional. And you might be right. It probably does lend itself to what Messi is at this stage of his career in terms of walking and not being able to press, and he's got workhorses around him who do his running. So maybe you are right in terms of they are maybe more suited to his abilities. But this is not a team, when I look at it, especially as the tournament's kicked off, that stand out as a team that could go and beat anybody in this competition. They've got clear deficiencies, and if they were to come out against Brazil, I'm sure we're all sitting here picking Brazil. If they come up against France, I'm sure we're all sitting here picking France, and even maybe England. So this is not a vintage Argentina outfit, despite that winning streak, but they've got that man, Lionel Messi, who can make the magic happen.
I think you're not wrong there in saying that this is definitely a team that lacks talent compared to previous teams, but I think that's what makes this team strong. Because you have someone like Rodrigo de Paul who's like a bodyguard for Messi, essentially. He hasn't had a great tournament, but he's brilliant against Australia. And that really might be the game that gets him going. You've got someone like Enzo Fernandez, who's this youthful character in midfield who can dictate the play, but if Messi asks for it, he gets it. And then you have Otamendi at the back, who's sort of like, I think they have him there because they're sort of like, he knows what Messi wants and he knows what Emi Martinez wants, and he might not be the best defender, but he provides the team with what they need. And then it lands at Lionel Messi. Once all the other cards are in place, then you get to him, and then you go, we'll get you 3 or 4 chances in a game, and the quality you've got, you probably score 1, you might score 2. I think that's essentially the game plan, and so far, they will say to you, it's worked. They actually only lost against Saudi, which you could easily just say was a blip. Saudi were outstanding. Since then, they've been good enough to win games. Maybe this is the game where they go, now we've really arrived. Or Netherlands go, maybe now we've really arrived.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting one. I do disagree with you guys. I don't think this Argentina team is amazing, but that's we've seen teams that have not been amazing. Argentina, again, I don't remember this. 1986 were a functional team that relied on the talents and exploits of Diego Maradona, and we've seen teams win major tournaments like that. If you even look at the Euros in 2016, that Portugal team were very functional and relied on the magic of Cristiano Ronaldo up until the final to get them over the line. So yeah, they probably are built to win this
We're disagreeing about what amazing means, because you're saying this is not an amazing team, and actually we're all in agreement about that. We're not saying this team is amazing, full of magic.
Yeah.
What we're saying is it's got one magical, obvious focal point, but in fact the amazingness of it, not that you'd necessarily use that word, comes from the way that people are filling the slots and figuring out how to make it work with the magic that they have.
Equally though, you could then say Netherlands don't have an amazing side.
Yeah.
Davy Klaassen is still there, who failed when he played in the Premier League. Jurien Timbo's been linked to moves away. Nathan Ake doesn't start for City every week.
Nathan Ake's been good though.
He's been sensational.
Really
but then you've got Daley Blind in front of him, who, I mean, if I'm
he's
him,
about 40 by now.
Yeah, he's been around the block for a while, and I kind of go, he's going to have problems at some point when he comes up against a pacey winger. Memphis Depay, who is sort of like playing on one leg at the moment, but still is outstanding. And then there's Cody Gakpo, who's probably the one player where you go, he's the one. Like, he's the player that's actually fully ready. He's your tournament guy. Currently averaging 1.3 dribbles per 90 with a 100% success rate.
Yeah, 100%.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That area for Netherlands, if they can get Cody Gakpo against Otamendi, they're probably thinking in the same way we are. Their fullbacks don't really want it. Otamendi's not quite there. Keeper's decent. I feel like that might be where Netherlands can win this game.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Netherlands will rely on the magic of the manager. I think it's almost Lou Van Gaal's story. You know that he's overcome illness. You see him sitting there on the bench looking like the coolest man in the world, with Edgar Davids next to him. And you saw him celebrate when Netherlands made it through the round 16 tie. It seems like he's their X factor. And then you've got Cody Gakpo, who's one of the most exciting attackers in the world. So that's probably what they're going to rely on to go through, because the rest of the team, they look very, very I don't know if it's a word, un-Dutch. You know, it's not total football. It's more pragmatic. It's more football in stages. It's not a case of this incredible midfield that are always going to show to the back three. It's De Jong dropping deep to show for the back three. But then if that option's not there, they will go long with it. And I think it's worked for them. We've seen Van Gaal do a great job in major tournaments before, mainly World Cup in 2014. And I think if they are to get through, they're going to rely on the experience and the exploits of their manager.
You're absolutely right about the un-Dutch thing, and that's the other thing about Louis van Gaal's star power, or his ability to be absolutely belligerent about absolutely everything. You know, back in the Netherlands, there's been so many former players have been talking about how this is not a Dutch side, this isn't what we play as, and Van Gaal is just like.
I do feel though in tournaments, in reality, how many times over the years does the best footballing team actually win it? Like it's almost like hardly ever happens. Very quickly, score prediction for this one.
After all of that, I think probably that the Netherlands will win on penalties.
Wow. If you somehow now say that Argentina are going to win, you've gone against everything you've said.
I'm about to say it. I'm here for the narrative. I'm here for the story. I'm here for the Messi magic. And despite the fact that I don't rate this Argentina team that highly, I think they win this game 2-1.
I'm going to go 1-1 extra time, Netherlands to win 2-1.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.